Anyway, you see the players seated. Austin again with his stylish orange mask, and we'll see. This will be a good test. We're gonna see whether the scoring will indeed never stop for Austin, as he has proven that is his catchphrase for good reason. He is a very, very talented player. Erickson, no slouch himself. We saw him play something like 4 or 5 bingos in a game en route to either 600 points or close to it against the best player in the field, Dave Wiegand. So, all right, players are about ready. Jalopnik one says, I'd love to hear the story of Will's first tournament. Yeah, that was in 2009. And at that tournament, I sort of went there with not much of an idea of what to expect. I knew some words from having played a lot of Boggle before, and I did very well in the lowest division, but I did not win because I lost both of my games to Jalopnik. One, I went 6-2, losing to him twice.
Well done.
So, of course, he loves to hear that story for good reason, as Austin leads off the game here with kind of a tweener rack here.
Yeah, it sounds like your first tournament was more interesting. Mine, I lost my very first game because I couldn't come up with disease as an anagram to seaside. My opponent then went on to go 6-0, and I went 5-1. So, go figure.
Yeah, but the most important thing about those first tournaments are not the individual results or the games, but more to the feeling of, wow, this is like an amazing community that I want to continue to be a part of. And I really believe that we were talking before that there are a lot of first-time players in attendance here. In pretty much all divisions at least have some representation, the light divisions, of newer players. And I really believe that once you get people to take that plunge and to go to a live tournament and sort of be among such like-minded, cool, quirky people, it really does form a habit pretty much immediately that you just want to continue to play this game, be around this community. It was a life changer for me in every sense.
Yeah, and I've written about my story. It's conradbb.com/my story.
Awesome.
If you want to read a little more about it, but I think getting back here, Eric has 2 playable bingos, one of which will depending upon which one he plays, will drastically alter the future of this game.
Oh man, yeah, I'm seeing
one will end
what
very
you're
poorly.
Okay, so what Conrad is saying is that Erickson has a bingo of mortgage here. Oh, he's not going to play it. Okay, so he plays Hag instead. This is actually a surprisingly decent time for Erickson to miss that bingo. He still had a much more obscure bingo through the eye of Dahoti, which would have ended up being pretty safe. And would that have blocked? I wonder if that would have blocked.
Oh, no, it gives it, no, Acridine.
Acridine, sure. Okay. I was going to say.
But Acridine into a triple, slotting an E in a nice spot, so.
Okay, so what we're remarking on, though, is mortgage has so many hooks, including not just mortgage with the D, mortgager, mortgagee, another E can hook onto that. So if Eric is going to miss his bingo of mortgage, now is a decent time because Austin's going to bingo with Dyneric, a very nice play for him, I might add. And yeah, it's coming. And so, yeah, the scores currently are 18-87 after the bingo. That was a good time for it just because Dyneric would have hit so much harder as a hook to mortgage there. So.
Yeah. And I will say I was chatting with Eric over a game of anagrams yesterday evening, and he said he really wanted to play Eric, the word, on stream. Instead, Austin has just thrown it back in his face by bingoing with an Eric word against him.
That is, I did not even realize that nuance. An Eric suffix word. That is some psychological warfare, next level stuff right there.
Yeah. But he will definitely bingo here. It's really... this is also kind of a turning point, right? Like he has tea time spelled out, which I guess would be a pretty defensive approach. or he can just really go and open it up, maybe something to the D or something through the R, or probably, I don't know, something through the C or something. What do you think? What would you consider here?
So tea time would go on top of Dahoti here with that. So that would be a very defensive choice. It scores 68, and mittened to the D of Dahoti opens up the board hugely and scores 8 more points. It is worth calling out. I wish I could take credit for seeing this myself, but probably the quote-unquote best play here for Erickson is through the ID.
Oh, my God. I don't know that word. Wow.
He could play mid-net for 86, which, again, I'm pretty much going to say only Dave Wiegand has a chance to see that in this field.
Yeah. And I bet he would find that. Like, it's right. It's just amazingly, it's a top 10,000 probability 9, which for those who are not word studiers is like common enough that if you study the 9s, you might actually get to it in your studies. But Scott Jackson, of course, found it. He's well known for having a bromance with Dave Wiegand and an elk. Interestingly,
I mean, can you really blame him? Dave Wiegand is, he is. As you get to know him better, it's impossible not to have a little bromance going with him.
Yeah. Do I sense an air of jealousy that you wish you could be a little more broier with
yes,
Dr. Bro?
Yep, definitely a little bit jealous. Definitely also believing, like, for years that there are players like Dave. When I got into Scrabble, he had already become a 2-time champion, I think. Mm-hmm. So basically, guys like that, for years, I thought to myself, like, these guys probably don't even know who I am. Like, what have I done in Scrabble to be noteworthy to Dave? And for some reason, I still feel that way a little bit to this day. Like, I still feel like, does Dave actually even know who I am? And I know he does, because we were on the same team at the Alchemist Cup, and we've become friends. Like, we're friendly now. But there's still something where, like, he's Dave Wiegand. Who am I compared to that?
Yeah. So. I mean, and once upon a time, Dave was definitely a little shyer, but now he's certainly, actually, I think it was at the New Orleans tournament where we really start to see him come out of his shell almost a decade ago now, and obviously we've become very good friends, and in my case now neighbors. Here's a cool one. I'm guessing that Austin could really go ahead and blow up the board here if he played Arroyo and Remitters.
I mean, this is the true question here is, does the scoring ever really stop, right?
If he puts his money where his mouth is, then we're going to see Arroyo and Remitter right here.
If the scoring truly never stops, he has to play Arroyo here. Yes, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe, is it possible that he'll opt instead to play Yarer or something? Like, okay, maybe that's the tiniest bit more safe of a variation, would you say? Yarer and Remitters?
Yeah. I would play Arroyo for sure. I'd play Arroyo and Haggy. I've gotten away. I once stole a game from a top expert by playing Haggyist as an intentional phony.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
I won't dox that person, but suffice to say they were very high rated.
Yeah.
Nylonite. There we go.
Yeah. So you were just talking about Xylonite yesterday, I think.
Yeah, Xylonite anagrams to exit only. I noticed in my walking home to our hotel.
That's classic Scrabble player brain there, just anagramming signs and anagramming whatnot. I will say that in high school, long before I ever played Scrabble seriously, I noticed that my high school baseball coach was a guy named Ed Wisner, Wissner, and I noticed that his name anagrammed to weirdness.
Nice.
I think I literally was in the outfield just thinking about that. Hopefully I didn't get hit a fly ball at that time, because I was probably very distracted by that epiphany.
Did you know that one of your opponent's last name was valid in Scrabble at the time, or did
No,
that
yeah.
come later?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know. Yeah, in high school, for any baseball heads out there, our team played against now Major League pitcher Adam Ottavino in high school. We went up against him, and he was a freshman on his baseball team at that time, but was already batting third on varsity, and went 5 for 5 with 4 doubles against our team. So
Yeah.
pretty good. All right. Wow. Austin is playing a little more carefully than maybe we would have expected. I don't mind this choice from him here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's seen remitters, right? So he's keeping the R's, knowing he's got this great bingo lane.
True.
In reserve. I thought about it more. I definitely do prefer Arroyo to Yerer. The reason being, if I'm gonna open up a triple lane that aggressively, why not open 2? Because really, I mean, it's a lot of volatility, but you're gonna get one of them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's something that is, I think, for a newer player to Scrabble, I think that's a surprising thing, right? Opening up a triple is known as this, I will never do this, right? This is something you should never do. Newer players are very right to be scared of doing that. But at the same time, there are some plays that you can make that necessitate opening a triple because they score so well or because they get a lot of bad tiles off of your rack. And then to Conrad's point, there are times when you can open 2 triples at once. And that, ironically, is sometimes better than just opening the 1. Because as Conrad said, you guarantee yourself at least a shot at hitting one of the 2.
Yep.
So, all right. Erickson still working on this kind of weird rack with the 2. Oh, wow, Conrad.
Oh, no, he's doing it. I jinxed it.
Austin's going to challenge this. No chance this gets past Austin. Let's be ready with the challenge cam here, because I absolutely, in no world does Austin not challenge this word.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anything, shorter words tend to be one of the only things that Austin is not one of the best players in the world at comparatively. But
yeah, but this is too. Yeah, a word like Haggy is just too. Oh, there it is. The challenge computer working beautifully. Check this out. Oh, I guess we're not seeing the. Okay, so we saw the shot of them using the computer, but not the result of the challenge, which we can tell you that this is going to come off. You see Erickson pick it up. And that's going to be a tough blow to him right there. Yeah, we'll work on getting the challenge cam to show. Did you guys actually see the challenge screen? I didn't see it actually. I don't know. Maybe
no. We saw the cam though, and the cam is still like that is half the excellence. So like,
the cam is good. Yeah, that's an improvement. We'll get there. That's again, that is our first attempt at bringing you challenge cam. So yeah, 5 points is the challenge rule here, but of course, when you challenge off a word, that has nothing to do with the score. You just take your word off and you take a 0 for that turn. Had Haggy been valid, Erickson's score would have gone up by 5 there. So a lot of incentive in the 5-point challenge rule to challenge any word you're unsure of. Many of our players in the North American field are more used to the double challenge rule, which when you challenge a word that is when you challenge a valid word, you lose your turn. So it's very scary compared to just giving your opponent 5 extra points. Not nearly as punitive.
Yeah. So strategy talk here, Will. Now that your opponent has played a phony and you have something like Pearl, whatever it is, Parol, you know 5 of your opponent's tiles, and none of them are an E or an S.
Oh, clever.
Do you go ahead? I mean, I guess I didn't know Poral. It's a obscure Collins word. Okay, so Poral. Okay, fine. I take it back. Say it wasn't a word though. Do you take the risk there?
That's a great question. So to your point, I do think that even though my opponent is playing 5 tiles on the previous turn and none of those tiles is an E, which the word we're talking about here, just for the record, is parole with this spelling, right? So it doesn't take an E hook. We all know parole with the E hook, hopefully not because you've gone to jail, but because we have good vocabularies. But I do also think that the E is such a common tile that players will keep on their leave. Even if you're playing 5 tiles off, I would still be a little scared just because that E is so frequently going to be in a 2-tile leave as a tile that you would keep for next turn for a better future. So I would still be a little scared. I think if the scores were reversed, maybe, and I had to, be aggressive to make a comeback, I would consider doing that. In this situation, probably not. I'm not sure I would play this over it, though. I'm not sure about wrap.
Yeah. Though it's worth calling out that given that those tiles are nylon plus E plus blank, what's the worst thing you're going to get hit with?
Good point. That is a good point. You can't really get hit super hard after that. So maybe it is okay.
Yeah.
It's a really, really great shout out by you to the way that you can use that extra information after your opponent makes a phony play. To me, that is one of the most fun and complicated elements of Scrabble, which at this part of the game, it really is a very much a game of imperfect information. Towards the end of the game, you have perfect information if your bookkeeping is accurate. But in the middle game, when your opponent does something to give you so much more information, that is a really unique challenge. It's one that's taken me a long time to, and still I feel like I burn a ton of time on moves like that. How about you?
I mean, yeah, it's one of the rare times that you have perfect or close to perfect information, so you really want to get it right. So it's it's one that's kind of hard to prep for, right? You never really know when that situation's going to come up, and an AI doesn't play phonies really.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. So only through experience, really. Only through experience, and it takes a lot of time and games to get that experience. So yeah, look at this. Austin is sitting, waiting for this kind of kill shot here with Jailers, which would really put him a huge amount ahead, but there's nowhere for it to play right now. So basically, Erickson has to, well, he can't know this, but it's very much up in the balance here. Will Erickson make a play that puts an S hook on the board in a good spot, or will he play something a little more guarded? That's going to change the direction of this game in a big way. What could he play that would put an S hook on the board here? Not that.
I don't really see much of anything that. I mean, I would prefer playing Yawn or something in the kind of the top center
with those overlaps, maybe.
Yeah.
Or I see. Yeah, that Jan might do a little bit better. He plays only, which isn't significantly worse, and it's not going to give Austin a place to play Jailers. It actually also blocked Austin's possible Jails and Hags. There were some big J scoring plays, pluralizing Hags. Haggy no good, but Hag is valid with the 2 Gs. So only does have that unintended effect of taking Austin's highest scoring plays away from him on this move. But Austin will still have his choice of some good scoring plays with the J that leave him really nice tiles here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even a small play like Jol, he's got it spelled out top center there.
That looks perfectly fine to me. Is there any world in which you would? You can't keep the L for 6 fewer points. That's too much. Definitely got to play your L there. Yeah. Obviously, the reason that I would at least consider keeping my L. So we're talking about playing Joe with or parallel to Rap. And we're going to see Austin play the L, which Conrad and I agree that is the correct choice here. You're getting 6 more points to play your L as opposed to simply leaving it off. The reason you would at least consider it is when you're close to a bingo, every subsequent bingo tile that you can keep beyond the first has a really positive effect on your ability to draw that 7-letter bingo eventually. So you got to at least consider it. But 6 points is too steep of a tax to pay, especially considering the odds of you drawing another good bingo tile are still pretty good, right? Like you can play Joel, get 6 more points, and draw 3 good bingo tiles and still get a ton of bingos down. So it's not worth that sacrifice here.
Yeah, and especially with that L hanging out with only the C hanging out in generic, which is not as important to the point, but yeah. And so he still didn't pick up a bingo with that AIRS.
He drew KF, and again, we've mentioned it a couple times. When you're trying to bingo, you're hoping to avoid certainly as many of those high-scoring consonants as possible. Certainly duplicate vowels is another thing you don't want to see. But the high-scoring consonants have those high scores because they're in fewer words. So that's going to make it tougher to get those 7 and 8-letter bingos. And ultimately, even though Austin's not very likely to bingo with this rack, he's still going to score well, and he has a nice lead, which I need to update the scores for you guys. 176 to 106 right now for Erickson, who's on turn.
And he's just not much good stuff that he's looking at here.
Yeah, what can he do here?
Yeah, this may be I hate the idea of fishing here because there's just not much to play through.
He's got just the one vowel, so that's obviously, you're going to want to hold on to that I if you're Erickson here and do your best to get rid of some of these consonants. I guess maybe something through the double E of Dyneric and Oye. I mean, it's, Neem, Peen. I don't love those plays.
I mean, that's Peen is. I see the Peen here. I don't know.
Sorry, Twitch admins for that, but we have to admit we both do see the Peen.
Yeah, shout out to Big Mouth.
Nice, yeah. That's the Netflix show, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, Erickson can do something like that through the 2 E's, or all right, he's gonna play.
Yeah, I mean that's
fine, I guess. I mean that's.
It should be playing pint. That's obviously not as good, but.
Yeah, pint, a little bit better probably. Just in general, always. The M may be a little bit more flexible than the P. They're very, very similar bingo tiles, and the M is a better scoring tile in general. Or is there a specific reason on this board that you're calling out?
Oh, no, just MNS versus PNS, I think.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So anyway, Mint is certainly a reasonable play. Let's just see. Oh, he drew decently well. Bingo through the L doesn't fit. So yeah. Anyway, let's see.
Pretty close, maybe not quite. Would have a bingo with the M instead of the E. Yeah.
Good call. Yeah, it's that again, as I mentioned, these tiny little details, right? Like the difference between the leave of PNS versus MNS. That is as splitting hairs as it gets. But in this particular situation, Erickson would at least be threatening a 7-letter bingo on his rack. If you switch that P over to an M, he would have Osmunda. I'm not sure where that fits here. Does that play somewhere?
I don't think so.
But you never know what might open up. So
yeah. And so what does Austin do here? Frack, I guess, is what he has spelled out. It certainly seems like
Frack is, I mean, Frack. So worth noting that Dyneric is an adjective. There's no S that you can put onto that. So that's the first thing to point out. If Austin plays Frack through that C of Dyneric, it looks a little bit scary to give that triple up, but it's actually going to be kind of difficult to hit the triple sometimes, in particular because the R of Frack is going to be a part of that word. If Erickson does not have an E, it's going to be impossible for him to really do much to that triple, right? It's going to be hard for him to have a 6-letter play extending all the way up to the upper right corner of the board. And if he doesn't have an E, it will be literally impossible to do a multi-tile overlapping play to the triple letter score right next to that C of Dinaric.
And really, he'd need 2 E's, right? Because both Y's are out. So you could have an A, I guess.
Totally,
that's not going to score much.
Yeah, even though this looks extremely scary with that triple lane wide open looking, it's actually a little less scary to me than some openings would be in that spot. So I like it actually for Austin. I think that's a reasonable form of aggression. There were other plays he could have made here, like Kafila through the L of only, that maybe are slightly less crazy and open to variance of like big scoring plays going down. But this is fine, I think. I don't really have a problem with this. And Austin's drawn great, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's wow.
So, although hold on, I'm just looking around the board. Does he? Yeah, where is Austin gonna?
Lineates.
Lineates is a very tempting play, but yeah, unfortunately not. I'm not sure where Austin's actually gonna play with this. So maybe he's sort of dependent on Erickson's next play. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. If nothing else, he has the chance to just play off a couple vowels and shore up some holes in the board a bit, maybe, if that's how he wants to use the time. He's not quite up enough that the game is a conclusion, foregone conclusion. But let's see what does Eric do here first? Because for him, it's he's getting to the point where he's going to need to do something soon.
I mean,
he wants to leave the top left. You want to leave that as alone as possible, because that's your long term. That's what you got to work with.
So for Eric here, his choices, as I see it, are: does he burn the S to score like 30 points somewhere, or does he try to set up an S hook somewhere for many, many fewer points, right? So for me, I would be thinking about playing OUP off of the K of frac. I would consider that, just because I've got an S and there's nowhere else on the board that's any good for that S. Another thing that you could consider is, if you want to burn your S, you could play something like Spa and Lamp and Oars or something like that. That scores 31 points, but you leave very poor letters for next turn, which really, I mean, you're getting way more points, and then you really need help from the tile bag after a play like that. So, I think I would probably favor getting an S hook on the board here, even at great cost on the scoreboard. But depending on how he does that, he's got to be careful, because Austin is sitting on really good tiles here. So we'll just have to see.
Well, a good morning to both Choco PB and Jello Mochas, both Pacific Northwesters.
I didn't see Choco PB there in the chat. Good morning.
Choco is mentioning the merits of mint over pint.
True. Yeah, that's definitely the emo and dit and e and rit spot to end words in ed and er is definitely worth some consideration there. So long term, maybe mint does have some benefits for him to complete this comeback. That's a really good point. So this is a tough turn. Eric's time is dwindling. He's gonna have to come up with something here. What's he going with?
No. That's no. Don't do that. No.
So a play like Pound, taking that D off of the board as a potential place that you can bingo, it does kind of hurt. You really do want to try to preserve that if possible. So given that, like a play like Oop that I pointed out there off of the K of frac, that scores 14 points. Pound scores 16 points. So it's really not that many more points. You would be sacrificing only 2 points to get a really nice extra S hook on the board. So I think positionally, Eric may regret this.
Yeah, but he was apt to note that his leave was sad. And just like, just for a little bit of color commentary, like if I'm in Austin's shoes and I see that Etesian doesn't play and my opponent plays Pound, I am jumping for joy after that play. I am so happy to see Pound because the work was just done for me.
Yeah, that was a really helpful way to for Austin. Obviously, helpful is relative, but that you love to see that D of Dahoti and the lane that Choco PB pointed out in the chat with Emo
Yeah.
both get taken out in one move and
Yeah.
really almost nothing given back. It is technically possible that an 8-letter word could play through the P or O of Pound, but those spots are significantly worse than the spots that existed prior to that play. So, it's interesting. That was definitely a tricky play. Those are the types of plays that I feel like historically I can misevaluate more often than most, but I feel like I finally got my instincts to the point where, just like you were saying, no, 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 when that went down, I could feel my heart drop a little bit as well in
Yeah.
that situation. So, um, yeah, let's see what to do here. Suggestion of maybe Satine parallel to Frack. That would certainly score quite well. Austin's up by a lot of points. I think I would
He's
still
not
strongly consider just playing off an E or maybe EA parallel to Frack.
EA. I probably would have already played EA like a minute ago.
So you can score a lot more points by playing 6 of your tiles here, but you are with that leave of, if you play EA leaving TINES, you are still, even though this board is terrible, you're still going to bingo through the L of only a lot of the time. And you have to also realize that Erickson has every incentive to create openings on his next turn that you don't see now, but will see when he makes them on his next turn.
Yeah, and that's why you don't want to blow up the rack here.
So I think, Austin, you see him just put his finger on EA by itself. I think he's clearly thinking along those same lines. That being said, I wouldn't say, that it's impossible that he might play Satine here. It makes some sense to score a boatload more points with the score being what it is. Austin up by, something like 60, not quite 70 points. If you take points with Satine to go up by over 100, that is a great way to stay ahead of basically any bingo that Erickson might have here. But I do like the waiting game and just assume that Eric is only, what 2 things can happen that are good for you after playing EA parallel to Frack. The 2 good things are Erickson opens up a spot for you to bingo, or he continues to make plays like Pound that block more threats, right? Like, what if he inadvertently makes another play that closes more of the board? So,
yeah.
See you later, Jesse. Thanks for
See ya,
stopping
Jesse.
by.
Yeah. Jesse's, I think, finishing up his final day of 7 straight days of flying around Canada as a flight attendant for Air Canada.
Oh, man.
My goal is to have him as my flight attendant one day. I don't know how he feels about that.
Do flight attendants get in trouble for showing favoritism and stuff?
Oh no, that's definitely. I have received free drinks on flights before.
Okay.
No, it's the service industry. As someone who comes from the service industry myself a few years back, we always hook each other up. That's that's just what you do. I don't know.
Part of the drill.
Yeah.
So Eric had the cue there. He obviously, that was not helpful to his quest to draw a bingo here, and he very, very quickly plays Souk through the U of Pound, keeping great letters. Well, okay. Now both players are sitting on pretty monstrous racks here. Austin has a rack of 16 on this rack, and Erickson has readies and dearies. So the only problem is the board is nice and tight, and there's not a lot of space for that stuff. The L of only does have some opportunities for Eric, though. So what should Austin do here? That X. I wonder if he's going to play EX and ego. I don't think that's the best play. I think that's pretty much all he'll be able to do to stop Erickson from playing like to play something like resailed.
Yeah. So what's the sex rate here, Will?
It's not quite 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be, I mean, that would be a really strong. Well, Austin's getting ready to get sexy with it and score 46 points there.
Nice.
That's a lot of points.
You love to see it.
Very, very sexy play by Austin.
It was not lame.
It's hard to turn that down, actually. Yeah. That is a huge score, and at this game score going into that turn, scoring so many points is going to make Eric's bingo not nearly as scary, right? So now he's up by well over 100, 115. So once we see realized to be played, and we are about to see that go down. Oh, look at what Austin's drawn too.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing though, right? So now realized comes down. Now imagine pound wasn't there. You have a whole quarter plus of the board to use.
Yeah, true.
Now really all Austin needs to do is play anything above realized with an E. I mean, his tiles aside for a sec here, and you've kind of run out of real estate to do anything.
Actually, oddly,
yes.
In this situation, the only bingo that Austin has here is through the P of pound. He actually has an 8-letter bingo, which we were talking before about how unlikely that was. And just because he drew Terpenic through that P, which he sees it. Should he not play this?
No. I think there's a better play than the bingo.
Oh, so just play down to the Q.
Yeah, I think CI and Q I think is the best play here. I should say I'm not looking at the tiles that are remaining, so Austin has knowledge that I don't have.
I'll show that. Let me get that in just a moment, and we'll show everyone that. The tiles here are the tiles that Austin is looking at. Just a minute, they'll come up on the screen. So these tiles are the ones that Austin was looking at. So you can see there is a blank, right? There is a blank in there. There is some gross stuff too, like UUUVVWW. But what if Eric had some really good combination of those better letters in a blank and triples through there? That would be unappealing for sure. Yeah. But Terpenic, obviously, it's hard to find too much fault with that. He's going to go up 334 to 225. But as we were talking about yesterday, the score of the game really does matter. The same play is not always the right play given differences in the score. So
I would have at least thought about it. At the end of the day, it's going to be hard to not take the bingo and go up over 100.
For sure. Let's not try to, I'm not trying to say that Austin just made some massive mistake.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, this is just kind of a fun thing of, well, maybe there was an option that was slightly less risky for him there.
But yeah, here's the thing, like even with a terrible rack, now you have that big, huge triple lane open. I mean, it would obviously behoove Austin to play down to the T, without us looking at his rack. Again, given what he has, he may have to give Eric another chance at the triple, right?
He has that Z that goes down on top of realized, is what you're saying, right? So he has this massive, massive play. All right, there have been a bunch more tiles played and drawn since we looked at the unseen last. I'm updating that now. So now this is what Austin's looking at. Really ugly. There literally no E's. No E's available. This really apart from the blank, the unseen tiles to Austin are horrific. There's no S's. He's got the last S. He's got the last E's. He's got the Z. This is, this is a pretty good situation for Austin, for sure.
Yeah. And so this was Scott was asking before a defensive board versus a controlled board, and I was trying to explain the difference. Is a defensive board is more more short term, because even though this board has been defensive for most of the game, all of a sudden right there you have that open T, you have that open D, you have all the stuff on the bottom right, can still open the bottom left. Anyway, so interestingly, Austin does now choose to play the defense. Part of that is noting that there's a pretty good chance that he's still going to be able to get that bottom left spot too. So he's thinking across multiple turns. You know, if nothing else, he would have gotten SEZ says, but now he's drawn Waz.
Yeah,
and Eric, yeah,
which he's going to hammer that Z spot now. So Austin made that very clever play of Felt, just knowing, I can block the triple now and very likely hit my Z on my next turn without worrying. So that's good recognition by him there, and it shows that he is kind of thinking along the same lines as we were there. Of this is the spot that we need to worry about. So he blocks that T, and now he's going to hammer his Z here.
Yeah. And Eric appears to be picking up some vowels. And, Ovular, great play, obviously, but, destroys most of the remaining real estate. Not that he shouldn't have done that, but, this obviously puts the game out of reach here, leaving Benz on his rack after Waz.
Ben's Waz, yeah, which is, I'm sure a sentence could be made with that, but maybe against TOS. Just kidding. But
I don't actually know. Is Waz a bad?
Doesn't it mean to pee?
Oh, it does. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know. I thought it was just another form of was, like every other word.
No, I think Waz means to pee.
Yeah, you're correct. That's what it means. Actually, it is a dialectic word that means to urinate.
Yeah. So there you have it. So Austin hits really hard there. Nice play of Ovular, I have to say, by Eric to get a lot of those clunky tiles off of his rack. But he still finds himself down a lot. Oh, and Austin's drawn the second blank here. So definitely this game headed in Austin Shin's favor with pretty much all the good stuff. And you can see Eric's tiles, not what he needs here.
Yeah. Well, a good morning to the re-inked, a good morning to Zevkov, and of course to my mom. Are we gonna have a mommer sighting today?
I'm gonna text her.
Yeah, we've had both. Again, yesterday we had my mom, dad, and brother, and today we have my mom and my dad. Hopefully we'll get your mom on, maybe even an Allison sighting. An Allison sighting is in your wife, not my mom. They are not the same person.
All right, I have texted my mom.
Oh, his rack is now Evans BB.
Nice.
I appreciate that he has BB spelled out on his rack down there at the end.
So yeah, looking like the tracking is indicating that there are 2 tiles left in the bag. Erickson down by over 100. The tiles that are actually in the bag are AW, so that really has no chance of helping him. If you are Erickson here, maybe you have to pretend that the tiles in the bag are something like S blank. But even then, it's not looking good. I don't think there's really any way that Eric can make a threat that Austin can't simply outscore with whatever he's going to play next. So, interesting game.
Yeah, I now learned that the gift that I got for you and Allison is still with Kate. Do you know the story of how this is making it? Making it to you?
I'm not sure I knew that. No.
So I bought something. I bought something in Portland. Was going to give it to Kate and Tim in the Bay Area during the holidays, except instead, I figured just in case they don't make it to the Bay Area or something else happens. Well, I was in Utah, so I drove from Utah to LA, stopped in Vegas, dropped the thing off and something for Kate and Tim in Las Vegas. Kate and Tim then did not make it to New Orleans or to the Bay Area, but as a result, because they made it to Vegas, have your stuff.
Wow, I feel very well taken care of. Thank you very much. That's a lot of effort that people have gone to on my behalf. I can't wait to see what it is that I'm getting. And Scrabble Kate in the chat says, I also have cake for me. So
Yeah.
all I had to do was just sign on to do something I already like to do, which is do Scrabble commentary and help the Crescent City folks get set up with this event. Not that they need my help, but certainly, the idea of getting the sponsorship piece in place. All I had to do was do something I already want to do, and I get cake and I get treats and all this other stuff.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, you hosted me at your house. I made multiple trips to Princeton, New Jersey this year. Stayed with you, stayed with Kate. Always fun.
True.
Hoping to do so again later this year.
First of many. Yeah, first of many. Yeah. My mom says she's eating lunch and she'll try in a few minutes, but I'm not sure I'm signed in.
Uh-oh.
So, I don't know. We'll see if we can get her hanging out with us for any period of time. So, ooh, look at that. What is this? Oh, an E, Vennies. Yeah, Vennies. Oh, what a nice play.
Saving BB.
Saving BB.
You do love to see it.
That's very nice. Good play, Austin. Okay,
Yeah.
So that's a really, really snazzy play, scoring 40. If you're like me and couldn't tell what the heck he was playing there, it's this. An archaic word meaning it's a venue.
Oh, it is literally a venue.
I didn't realize that.
You learn something new every day.
So yeah, that's going to be a solid play. I guess maybe Eric can now block Ebb, and Austin will go out with the Ebb under realize.
Yeah, or Beeb.
So 2 outs. Yep, 2 outs for sure. Beeb, as in the Beebs, Justin
as in
Beeb.
The Beebs. Yep. Beebs. No, that's nice. I believe that's a sticky S. I think you have to have the S to have it be Beebs.
I see.
I'm trolling the stream. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine, and I agree with you. It should be a sticky S play. So, all right. Well, this is just not a very good set of tiles here for Eric. Man, I mean, this game could have been very different at a number of points. I think no matter how poorly Eric draws down the stretch, I think we have to look back at Haggy as a key moment in the game when Eric tried that Y hook on Hag, which Austin challenged off. That was a pretty big inflection point. And then obviously Pound is a play that we didn't love as a board closer. So, but otherwise, definitely not the best drawing game that Eric's ever had. And Austin played quite well. Only real tiny nitpicks on our part. So it's another well-played game here on the top board.
Yeah. Especially solid from Austin.